civilian fellow soldiers, I'm the professor, and this is the moment of truth.
Tonight, a Dale County man says he's not through fighting, even though he's no longer facing jail time for refusing to apologize to an Ozark police officer.
WDHN was first to report that the charges were dropped against him, but that's not the end of the story. He says he still wants justice, and he's getting help, more legal help. WDHN's Christian Jones is in Ozark with the details. Christian?
A Dale County man is no longer facing jail time after refusing to apologize to an Ozark police officer, but he says this fight is far from over. Skipperville native Reginald Burke says that he should have never been put in the position.
I feel like they embarrassed the heck out of me, man. I had to go through all this, and it should have never happened in the first place.
Back in December, Burks was pulled over for speeding in a 25-mile-per-hour speed zone while taking his daughter to school. According to Burks, the officer did not use a radar gun to measure his speed. Shortly after, Burks said the officer would not move from in front of his car, leading to the two having a few choice words.
I asked him one time to move nicely. So I'm like, hey, sir, can you get the hell out the way? Get your out the way because we can go.
When going to pay his ticket, the Dale County man found out that he was being forced to apologize to the officer.
I said, what? I'm not apologizing. I said, I just paid the ticket and go about my business. He said, no, the judge got how to speak to you. He want to speak to you.
According to Burks' attorney, David Harrison, Judge Nicholas Bull held the lawyer's client in the courtroom for over 2 hours until Burks apologized. Bull later gave Burks the decision to apologize to the Ozark officer by June 4th or spend 30 days in jail. Harrison says that in over 30 years of work, he has never experienced anything like this and says his client did nothing wrong.
And actually, you can really say anything you want to a police officer as long as it's not fighting or inciting, violence. And that's not the case here. This man clearly said something that you hear every day. So
after months of not budging, the Dale County Court ultimately decided to not punish Burks for refusing to apologize. While he is no longer facing jail time, Burks and Harrison are continuing to fight this case. According to Harrison, the two are fighting to gain pain and suffering compensation as well as compensation for lost wages. The lawyer says they are receiving help from the Institute for Justice, a nonprofit organization aimed to fight for civil rights cases.
They've reached out to us and we're consulting with them and making a decision on exactly what to bring. Because a lot of times when you have situations with government officials, they have immunity and it's hard to attack that immunity. Well, this organization here, that's their expertise and they're looking at ways that we can make the situation right for Mr. Burks.
Burks says that he feels that his charges were only dropped due to media backlash and to prevent Harrison and Burks from further fighting the case. Now, I have reached out to Judge Nicholas Bull for a comment, but have not received one at this time.
Look, this is Alabama. The same Alabama where the black folks tuned up those racists last year. The Riverside Reckoning, where America was introduced to its newest superhero, the chairman of Alabama. You remember how that crooked prosecutor and the judge actually put some bogus charges on the black man who those racist trash bags attacked? That black co-captain, he was the one who got beaten to the point he had to be hospitalized, and yet you had these guys turn around and say, well, after these niggers called themselves beating down these good white supremacists, we're going to put some charges on this guy. That's what they were doing there. So those inbred reprobates are still trying to get their own backs. This shows us they got humiliated publicly, globally humiliated, and the black folks stomped them out, and they're still trying to prove that they're in charge. A black man is driving his daughter to school. What should have been just a simple, sir, you got to slow it down, which is what should have happened. Instead, they're like, oh, no. This is all about the tax base. See, whenever you catch a white person who's speeding, you let them off with a slow it down. You catch a black person, on the other hand, good. No, we got to go ahead and put some fines on you. And then you wonder how it is that we have all of these places across America where when it comes to traffic citations and fines that have to get paid, black people are disproportionately the ones who actually get hit with the tickets. It's deliberate. It is a black tax by another name. Now, you got a black father with his child in the car, and you got this overbearing hayseed who's calling himself trying to prove that he's the toughest flatfoot in town. So the black man told him, look, if you're going to write me a ticket and get the hell out of the way so I can get on. I got other things to do more important than mess around with you. And they never like that. As far as they're concerned, you don't question my authority. Well, there's no question these white supremacists don't have any authority. And this is the reason why, especially after the uprisings of 2020, you got all these little red state racists passing these laws that are supposed to criminalize, quote unquote, disrespecting the police. This is actually done strictly to try to intimidate black citizens in particular. Of course, when it comes to disrespecting the police, at the end of the day, the police have to earn respect before they can demand that they not be disrespected. And of course, if you look at these state legislatures, you also see that a number of Democrats go along with these laws. So what does that tell you? Black subjugation is based on subjecting us to a daily breaking process. The only way that you can have a group of people who are psychologically repressed is if you make sure that every single day you're attacking them. Every single day you're breaking them down. Every single day you're trying to demoralize them. Every single day these anti-black racists have to do something egregious to remind us that we're an oppressed people and that apparently they got us under control, at the very least to remind us that they can just roll up on us at any time. You can't be safe in this society because the white supremacists are in charge. That's the point. But in order for that kind of clumsy mass mind control to even be attempted, of a necessity, you're required to enact some sort of blatant act of killing a black person, or, as in this case, some heinous act meant to humiliate a black person. Like when they forcefully cut black girls' hair, and they make sure they do that in front of everybody. If a black child, particularly a black girl, stands up in class, oh, we have got to cut any of your locks that you've got. They can be on the sports team and they'll decide, oh, we're not going to do anything or say anything until we get her out there in public at a game. So you're going to be ejected from the game unless we got to cut your hair right now. Oh, you can't go back to the locker room. We got to do this in front of everybody. That's the entire point of doing it. Or when they threaten to suspend black students when they don't stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Or, as in this case, refuse to accept payment for a traffic ticket unless a black man apologizes to the thug in blue. It should have been the cop apologizing to him, because he was the one who was out of line. But this little plan to humiliate a black man backfired, and now instead of it being a story about how a uppity Negro who refused to bow to a white man got checked, instead it's a story about how a black man cussed out a cop and then defied a judge in his own courtroom. See, those good old boys, they were trying to set a precedent, and they did. Just not the kind they wanted. And it's good to see this black man's not sitting here talking to forgiveness crap. I hope the love of Jesus does. I'm glad that he's not doing any of that garbage. Instead, we're going to be having some lawsuits up here. And what can we do to strip qualified immunity from the judge in this case? And that's very important. There needs to be a full court press to make sure that these judges are going to be stripped of any sort of qualified immunity, just like the thugs in blue. This man showed what happens when black people have a spine and actually stand up to these criminals. But notice that it was the judge who was the main one pushing this. It was the judge who demanded, you're going to give a written apology to this guy. Written apology? Like hell. Now, there ought to be holy hell raised by the State Bar Disciplinary Committee. And of course, there should be officials at the statewide level who are also looking and going, this is clearly judicial overreach. You got a judge who needs to be snatched off the bench. But then again, the reason this Cletus was on the bench in the first place is because of his statewide connections. These good old boys, that's what they do. They spend a lot of time doing that. You heard about that town in Alabama, New Bern, where you have that majority black town, but thanks to some Jim Crow era efforts to circumvent the Voting Rights Act, the town mayor and the city council are basically self-appointed, white of course. Well, you had that black man, Patrick Braxton, who actually filed paperwork to actually run for office, and he won because there was nobody else on the ballot. But the racist reprobates refused to vacate the office, and you got state and county officials who are helping them out, saying that, well, it's legitimate for them to still stay in office because, well, they filed some paperwork saying that they've moved the date of the election, or as far as they're concerned, they're vacating office. That's what they did. They just said, hey, we're white and we say so. There's no case law for it. There's no state law. As far as they're concerned, this is about sending a message. We're in charge, and it's not based on elections. Mr. Braxton has, of course, gone to federal court, but recently a judge ruled on his case and refused to give this man any sort of immediate relief to his case, even though it's obvious that he's won it. Even the judge had to admit that he will likely prevail in a lawsuit, and yet said, well, we're not going to do this now. You need to wait until the next election comes along. So you got the reprobates covering for each other. By the way, that federal judge who refused to follow the law in this case was appointed to the bench by W. So let's hear it for how the Republicans aren't racist like those Democrats, right? Isn't that a popular GOP talking point? Mr. Braxton shouldn't have to be going through any of this. It's obvious what state law says, but you got these little white supremacists down there, many of them sitting on those benches going, yeah, we see what the law is, and we admit that, yeah, you're going to win. I mean, even if you don't, the problem is these guys can't sit here calling themselves changing the date of the election or changing the dates for this or that forever. Sooner or later, there's going to have to be an election. The genie's out of the bottle, and we can't put it back in. But in the meanwhile, we're just going to pretend like we're still in charge for a little while longer. I've been saying for several years now that the job of crushing white supremacy will not be complete until these judges are brought to heel, right along with their thug buddies in the police and the prosecutor's office. These judges are also part of the big problem that we face, and they have to be punished for their actions. So it's good to be seeing black people and black men in particular who are standing up to these white supremacists. It goes to show us, though, just how much work is ahead of us. But nonetheless, as I've always told you, when we fight, we win. And that's the part that we have to make a habit out of. These white supremacists are not going to be toppled on their own. We're going to have to knock the scumbags over. So it's time to put the arm on those scumbags. This is just more proof that we gotta get on code, so we can have these white supremacists, especially these white supremacist judges, held accountable to our satisfaction. It's not enough merely to defeat their little illegal maneuvers. They also have to be punished. That way, the only ones who are gonna be sorry is them. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our...
You know, it's absolutely amazing when you're living a life long enough, when you're caught up in a trap and you recognize that trap. But it's a shame when you can't do nothing truthfully about it. All you can do is appeal and ask for some sort of grace during the period of being occupied. We're being occupied. We're in a country that has failed to help us as Black Americans, foundational Black Americans. These people around you are all on code to keep safe haven of their communities. They'll allow the immigrants like those up there on that scaffold working to come in this country and work as long as they don't have no political power, speaking back, standing up for themselves, trying to build something that's going to help them becoming the leadership. As long as they're not doing that, then they're okay to be here. But our black blood, our ancestry, even though we are dysfunctional in our ways as a unit, we all are being ignored from what's rightfully ours. And that is our reparations. It's a shame what I see around me with this experiment that went kind of sort of right with segregation all the way up to regentrification, or, you know, it's wrong that they're still inside the court system with the police, with the judges, with the penal system. They exist in old school ways. And that's how they rule. That's how they deal with people, unless you have the financial means to get yourself out of the trap. Every day I walk out here, I have to make sure I'm on task. It's not no happy-go-lucky. If you know, you know. If you don't know, that's on you. You have to pay attention. just by opening up your mouth as a free man or free woman. It all depends on who you're dealing with. You could be shut down. You could be embarrassed, and you could be humiliated just for being a black person or a person of color by white Anglo-Saxons or racist white supremacy. I deal with this every single day, every day I walk in life. I don't ignore it. I see it for what it is. Whether or not you want to utilize the ideology, and I say you, I'm not speaking to a ghost or a spirit of some sort of delusional state. I'm talking to the ones that are living this dream, the American dream, who think that they have a human being that's just like them, flesh of their flesh, blood of their blood, but we're tribal in our existence, that you could just step on people because of their skin complexion. You could walk around uppity with your head in the sky, your chin up, and look down and speak down on people, and you think we should know better. Those days, to me, are over and have been over. But I don't think that certain groups get it. It comes on all different levels of understanding the social classes. Understand the social classes and the wealth, how it's stacked up. And that's how people interact socially every single day. When you are oppressed, and pressured by the white hand of supremacy, you have to so-called know how to act accordingly in order to get a pass, when it should not be that way. This is why people died, marched, and continue to protest against all kinds of systems. You can monitor us, you can track us, you could do archives of us and our existence all you want, all our lives. The truth of the matter is, you're a fucking liar. White supremacy, the hand of white supremacy, is ideology. Its whole existence is a fucking lie. Point blank. Not the type of lie where it's not truthful. It's the type of lie that has you brainwashed, controlled, and programmed to think it's okay to suppress and to humiliate and to hold down races of people who are not of what you are. You know the truth, and you want to live in a sense of denial. You think we should be delusional and admit and submit to sinner, to be a sinner. In all your ways you find justifiable, and you use your financial means to separate and get gatekeepers within our community, the black community, for us to be crabs in a bucket. You have done us wrong. Continue to have a race that's stacked up unfairly, and think it's okay for us to think that this is an even playing field towards our upward mobility in life. No, it's not. It's not fair. The lies are lies. There's no justice inside of this bullshit ass pyramid, this fake ass system you have here. People coexist together because some of them just don't care. Some of them know that this is happening. Even the educated ones will find a way to be politically correct and cape and loud cap and think it's the best thing in the world to do, to live in a state of mind that it's okay to live a lie. You're fucking crazy if you're a black person. You allow yourself to believe that anything that is dealing with white supremacy is okay. You're a fucking lunatic. You just go along to get along. And these, let me break it down just a little bit more. There are really literally people who ride around, who walk around every single day trying to fuck with the common person of color who's walking around this life, and poor folks and immigrants who are walking around life just trying to coexist. Not with a competitive state of mind, just living life. There are actually people out here who are sitting around starting shit. Just sitting around starting shit for no reason. We always use that word trouble, trying to get somebody in trouble. Karens and Kens, we've labeled them and named them to make them identifiable. I'm calling corporate, those type. Do you belong in this community? Way beyond a block watch. All these systems out here in commerce that's redlining us still to this day, trying to stop us from being able to move up in society and take part of this quote-unquote American dream financially, to get the same things that's entitled to everybody, but you have people continuing to stop you from getting it. And they think they do the world good when they don't. See, I know one day I will be gone from this planet, and I'm visiting it just like all the rest. You blinded by mind control, stepping inside of groups, being controlled, or somebody in leadership that you're around, that you follow. It's marketing at its best. It's indoctrination at its best. It's discipline by fear at its worst. Everybody's scared no more, man. The marching, protesting, the crying, the walking away, the avoiding, all that shit is gone. We're in a new wave, and we're going to continue to be in a new wave. a new processing, a new thinking, a new understanding. Because we've been tired of being tired. Who is we? I think every race of people are tired of being tired. Even white folks who are a part of white nationality, who believe in something. Donald Trump is not the one to believe in. Biden is not the one to believe in. It is you and your plight and your purpose for your own heritage. That's what to believe in. Not this system that any time could turn its weapons on its own people. At any given time. If it wants to be self-destructive. It's a trap god. Kod Testimonies, the angry black alley cat, the true spitter. I don't have to continue to talk about this shit over and over. You all know. Just like all these fake ass holidays, just like all these traps you get put in with paperwork, every time you deal with any type of item that you want in life, for lack of a better word, any type of relationship you get in, you know there's going to be pros and cons. You can play the devil's advocate, but there's a yin and a yang. There's the good, there's the bad, there's the understanding, and there's the non-understanding of the foreseeable, and the not able to understand the foreseeable accidents that happen in life. But as a human being, I'll leave you with this. We only live this life once. You do what you want to do to survive. But in this country, in America, in this system, for me speaking in my entity as an African American male, foundational black American, I know every single day that these white folks, this white supremacy, the hand of white supremacy is a fucking bully. A bully that walks around this earth every day and buck breaks you. I don't need the foundation of black America to tell me this. I know and can see it and feel it and understand it with my own eyes. But it only takes a mustard seed to realize that you forever in your life as you exist with this melanin in your skin, that you being trapped, monitored, and beat physically and mentally, psychologically, emotionally, and financially to a living pulp, to obey a corrupt system here in this world, not just America, but in this world. I'm gonna holler back at y'all, man. Y'all can do what the fuck you want with this conversation. But every single day, you are trapped. Every single day, you're dealing with hate. I'm the Trap God.